Let's talk about things that I am afraid of. Which really means things that at some level of myself, in some part, are desired. They could be called shadow desires, because the soul is inherently neutral. It's here for experience. It desires everything. Nothing that would exist could exist without the desiring of self. We have a desire for it. That's what brings it into being. That's why anything is, because it's wanted. And denying, pushing away the hidden desires, which appear contradictory. They appear to be contrasting. The things that we look at in ourselves and say, no, I don't want that. I am afraid of that. There's more than one way to look at this, and I am interested in turning it over at every angle. On one level, there's contrast, right? This is the thing that I know that I don't want, and that contrast gives me clarity about what I do want. I believe in that. Absolutely. And the refocusing, the pivoting, the sort of soothing away from the fear into focusing on what it is that I want and believing in that. And that is very powerful. But there are some times I think it still gives the fear a lot of power, at least for me, in my experience. Sometimes that fear is so strong that the pivoting away from it doesn't work. And there are all kinds of soothing tactics, and I've used many of them, to soothe myself back into that place of knowledge of my well-being, knowing that it doesn't matter how backed up, how twisted in resistance I get, everything is working out for me, all of that. But it doesn't empower me the same way as choosing to accept the fear as desired by some part of myself. And it's not easy. But it is empowering. It's empowering to say, I just got a funny text message. Raindrops keep falling on my head. That was the tune. Anyway, it's empowering to actually own a fear, to twist it around into the desire, to line up with that place, that part of self that is so easy to reject, so easy to push away and say, no, this is not what I want, this is the opposite of what I want. But all of that resistance is just giving power to the fear. And if I can just line up, if I can realize that there is a part of myself that is satisfied, there's a part of myself that wants what the rest of me is saying it doesn't want. And it's not that either part is lying or telling the truth. I am multifaceted. I am shadow and light. I am all things. And I want all things. That's what makes self such a complex being. That's what makes the journey of self so intricate and complex. We are full of paradox. This realm, which is a reflection of ourself, is full of paradox. That's what we are. We are two things and one thing and everything and no thing. That's just what it is. So reconciling these contrasting desires, again, I do believe there's a benefit to accepting it as contrast, but I want to do more than that. Because this is empowering too, and it's another thing that I can practice a dualism of. I can accept the contrasts and I can unite the two so that there is no contrast. Which means accepting deeply that no matter what is, a part of myself, some part of myself is satisfied with it. No matter what is, no matter what an outcome is, no matter what situations, no matter what experience is taking place internally or externally, there is a part of myself that desires it and that is having that desire fulfilled in that moment. And that applies to all of my fears. And it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to admit and accept deeply. So I'm going to talk about some of my fears. And one of the biggest ones is screwing up this relationship that I am in. And a bigger part of me knows this is a relationship with myself. Of course it is. But it's also not something that can end. It's not something that can be screwed up. It's not something that can be broken. This is a connection with myself that is unending. And it's never not been. There's never been a separation. I have always been in this connection. And I have always been in union and proximity with myself. At every level, this is hard to put into words. With this soul, which is the reflection of myself, which is such a unique and perfect pairing of my energy, this other version of me. And I know at a deep level that has never not been and will never not be. But there is a fear. There is a fear of somehow losing this relationship, of fucking something up and disappointing and failing at it and losing it. And there's emotion behind that because it's a deep fear, because there's deep care here. But I want to accept too that there is a part of myself, there's something in here, and I'm not judging it and I'm not maligning it. There is a part of myself that wants that. Not admitting it doesn't do a lick of good. Pretending it isn't there doesn't do a lick of good. I want to bring this to light. I want to accept. I want to integrate all the parts of myself. And there's a part of myself that wants everything that the rest of me says no to. No, that's not what I want. And there is a feeling of relief to bring that into the light, to say, yes, there is a part of me that wants to fail. There's a part of me that wants to be rejected. And I'm not calling that part broken. I'm not calling that part wounded. It's just a part. It's a part. It's there. And I'm just going to let whatever emotion comes through come through and not question it or look for an explanation for it. Just let it be there. I was working through this as essentially following the process of existential kink, accepting the premise of which is that, having is evidence of wanting, and any situation in your life that you're experiencing as a don't like, as a not like situation, there's a part of it that you like. That's why it's there. But she also applies it to fear, your deepest fears. Taking an inventory of your deepest fears and recognizing that there is a part of you that wants those things. And that's how you diffuse the fear around them, is accepting there's a part of you that really, really wants this. And so if this happened, you would really get off on it. There would really be a part of you absolutely getting off on this horrible, terrible thing that you never want to happen, happening. And just tapping into that power, because it's an incredible power. So much of our power is in the darkness. That doesn't mean the dark side. It's not Star Wars. It's not evil. It's the things that we've repressed. That's what makes it dark. It's the stuff in the shadow that we have called taboo, that we're afraid of. That's why we put it in the shadow. Most of our power is there. So another thing that came up for me is having no money, being totally broke. And a lot of the reason that is more of a fear for me now, because it's always been floating around in there, but it's definitely much bigger now because I am in this connection. And that means I have a desire to be financially participating in this relationship, in the family, in taking care of things, of each other. And so there's this whole cascade of if I'm always broke, if I'm broke, if I run out of money, if I don't have money, and then I can't take care of things, and then I'm a failure, and I disappoint people, and I'm a failure, I'm rejected, I'm abandoned. It has the same result. Everything goes away. And so I was trying to lean into today, and a big part of the Existential Kink practice is stating your fear out loud and letting yourself take pleasure in it, essentially. So saying something like, I will never have enough money. I'll never have enough money. I'll always be struggling. Oh, and then letting yourself feel, giving permission to that part of yourself that enjoys that, letting it take pleasure in that statement, in that imagined scenario. I will never have enough money. I'll never be successful financially. I'll never be really financially stable and secure. I'll never have the money to do the things that I really want to do, and I'll never be able to support the people that I love in the way that I want to support them, and they're going to be disappointed in me. Oh, they're going to be so disappointed. So disappointed, they're not going to want to be around me. They're not going to want me. They're just going to leave. I'm just going to be a big fat fucking failure, and they're all going to go away, and I'll just be broke and alone. I can feel how good that feels. I can feel it. Denying that is totally fucking pointless. That lights something up. And I'm giving that permission to light up, to be felt, to be pleasure in this moment. And that is empowering, because ultimately all any of us really wants is to feel good. All the things we think we want because of the way they make us feel, the way we think they're going to make us feel, which is good, right? So if I am finding a way to feel good, I am feeling good. I am tapping into and owning my power to feel pleasure regardless of circumstance. I can recognize that even if things go this way, I can feel good. If things go the way that this part of myself wants, that feels good. If things go this direction, I can find a way. I can tap into the parts of myself that are pleased with that too, because my soul is wholly approving and accepting. I have the power. My spirit has the power of absolute approval. Absolute, wholehearted, big fat thumbs up, yes, approval. And I have the power to feel pleasure. And I have the power to tap into fear and view it from a different perspective. To recognize I have choices. I have choices with how to look at fear. So many choices. And I can utilize all of them. I can use all of these tools. I can observe it as contrast. I can recognize that Knowing what I don't want points to what I do, and knowing what I do want with clarity assists me in focusing on that. I can trust more in that. I can lean into that. I can lean into the well-being of all. I can do all of that, and I can do this. I can do this too. I can tap into and recognize there is a part of myself that is satisfied with everything, including the apparent manifestation of the opposite of what I desire. I can tap into that part. That's my power. So no matter what, I can find a way to feel good. There's all kinds of resistance in here. There's all kinds of voices going, but no, but that's not what I want, and I don't want to put that out there. That's not how this works. This is allowance. This is acceptance. This is integration. This is really, truly accepting the self. By making unconscious shadow desire into conscious, bringing it into consciousness, into the light, I am letting it fulfill itself. I'm letting it be fulfilled. It doesn't now need to manifest. My resistance to it is what makes it more likely to manifest, actually. Doesn't mean that it's going to. I'm not trying to put that fear into anybody, but it makes it a lot more likely. Making it conscious, bringing it into my awareness and accepting it, integrating, allowing myself to take pleasure in the visualized in this moment I'm experiencing, and I'm allowing the visualization of that occurring. I'm just allowing that desire to be owned. That's really all it wants. It wants permission to be. It wants to be recognized. It wants to be acknowledged. When we refuse to acknowledge those shadow desires, then they come out, they creep out in unconscious ways. But when we recognize, when we actually honor the desire that's there, and we let that desire be pleased in itself, because that's really the power of desire too, right? It's feeling how delicious a desire is. A lot of our desire is desiring to desire. Desiring to experience desire. Because what feels fucking good? Desiring. It feels good to want. It feels good to be lit up, to be drawn to be attracted to something. That feels good. That's what we want to feel. So when we give permission to this side, these shadow desires that are repressed, to just be acknowledged and let those desires feel good, let ourselves experience the pleasure of desire, that's really all they want. That's really all they want. They want to be seen. They want to be witnessed and accepted and integrated. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And it's scary as hell. But I want to do it. Because I want to feel good, and I want to tap into the fullness of my power and my being. And all of these parts that get shoved away because the rest of me is afraid to look at them and afraid to embrace them. The rest of me is going, no, that's not what I want. Well, I wouldn't have that fear of it. It wouldn't be so strong. I wouldn't have that kind of reaction if there weren't a part of myself wanting it. I can't deny that. I did this practice many, many months ago. In regards to relationships, I walked myself through, and my focus was, I'll never have a fulfilling relationship where I am respected and desired and supported. I'll never have a truly fulfilling relationship that's secure and mutual. That was it. That was the focus, and I went all the way with it. I went all the way with it, if you know what I mean. And it was incredible and empowering. And I talked with the person who is my partner now about it at the time. And she practiced it too. We're both interested in this. And, you know, several months later, it all fell into place. That pattern finally was allowed to be released because I acknowledged it fully. And not in a shaming way, not in a way of I'm trying to get away from this. In an accepting, integrative way. Something funny happens. I've seen it again and again, and it still shocks me. Something funny happens when we not only stop resisting the things that we think we don't want, but we embrace them. When we go towards them, it's a little bit like there's a child trying to get your attention, and you're ignoring the child, and they're trying harder and harder and harder, and they're, poking you. They're being like, hug me, hug me. And then when you finally stop everything you're doing, and you just do a complete 180, and you're just so loving, you're like, come here, child, come here, let me love all over you. And then that kid is like, I want nothing to do with you. That's kind of how it feels. When you change your relationship to the things that you've been resisting, because you don't want them, you're afraid of them, whatever it is. When you change, when you play, you get playful, and you go, you know what? I do want you. I do. Come here. Let me get close. Get up in here. Let me get all over that. Then that thing that you were like, ew, to, when you change and you're like, come here, baby. Suddenly, there's that brief moment where it's like, oh, yes, finally I'm seen. And then it loses the charge. It loses the charge. It's like there was a game taking place. It was only appealing. There was only power there because of this resistance, because of this repulsion. Once you switched off the repulsion and you let it be attraction, the charge kind of just dissolves. It loses power. It loses interest. It's no longer such an interesting game. It was interesting because it created a reaction. That fear is a reaction. That's getting something, it's getting a rise out of you. That kind of thing. But if you just lean fully into it and say, oh yes, come here. Thing that I have been so deeply rejecting from fear. Just get all the way close. Get up in this. And you let it, you bring it, you embrace it and pull it into you. Suddenly it just goes, meh. Okay, I don't really care anymore. It really does. It really does. And it may take more than one. It's, not necessarily a one and done. It takes some repeated practice of remembering, I'm not afraid of this. I'm embracing this. There's a part of me that wants this, and I'm tapping into. I am embodying the part of myself that wants this, and I'm letting that part out to play. But doing that over and over, it creates a change. It absolutely does. It changes your relationship to the thing that you've been repressing. And then eventually it just stops showing up. And other things, different things, show up. It's amazing. Anyway. I had forgotten how powerful this practice is. And I'm grateful to myself for reminding myself about it. And taking the time to engage with this today. To really embrace the repressed, embrace the things that are feared. There's only one little tiny thing in here that fears. It's ego. The soul's not afraid of anything. The soul is not rejecting anything. The soul is happy with everything. The soul is all approving. It's happy with all of it. So if I can remember that, and whenever there is a big fear that comes up, there's like the whole fear of not fulfilling some purpose, fear of never living up to whatever, accomplishing anything, becoming the thing. I can feel pretty quickly how good that feels. That's not a hard one to tap into either. Oh yeah, the fear, just I'll never be anything. I'll never be anything to anybody. I'll never accomplish my purpose. I'll never fulfill my potential. I'll always just be this washed up, I don't know, wannabe. That feels good. That feels good. I can feel that. It's exciting. There's a smile on my face. I can let that feel good. Oh my God. Yeah, some of them are harder than others to tap into and to let through and to allow to be pleasure, but I have the power to let anything be pleasurable. I have that power, and that's a great thing to know. That's a powerful power right there. The relationship one is trickier. I can feel there's still a lot of resistance in there over that, because I really love this person. I really love this being. I have this really strong desire for perpetual connection. But I also feel like it's tremendously honoring to that, to accept the fear and what the fear is pointing to, the shadow part that wants separation or wants to fail. The part of self that really wants to be rejected. Again, just bringing through the like, I'll fuck it up. I'll definitely fuck it up. I'll totally fuck it up. I'll fuck it up and I'll be rejected and I'll be a failure and I'll be alone. I'll be alone forever. I can feel the flow of that. I want to be totally honest about it. I can feel the flow of that. There's part of myself that would be so satisfied if I just fucked it all up. But instead of denying that part and letting that fear have power over me, I want to embrace it. I want to embrace it. I'm gonna keep working with that one. This is enough. I would like to drive home now. But and you can't go about it with the intention of trying to change something either. It's got to just be the intention to accept. That's it. That's the only way it feels right. It's just the intention to accept more of myself. That's it. I'm not trying to create a change. I'm not trying to do anything. I have a desire to see, to witness, to integrate, to embrace more of my being. That's purely it. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. It's not to create anything or prevent the creation of anything. It's not about an outcome. It's not about control. It's just witness and acceptance and integration and tapping into more of the pleasure that is available. More pleasure is found in more of my being. The more of my being that I integrate, the more pleasure that I allow. But most of my being, and therefore most of my pleasure, is hidden in the shadow. So that's where I gotta look for it. Okay, I think that's good for now. Try it out. Existential Kink. It's a book to practice. I am sorry, I can't ever remember. Dr. Carolyn something with an E. I can't ever remember her name. It's awful because I talk about it a lot, but it's good stuff. Very interesting. Great explanation of the left-hand path as it actually is, not as mainstream anything would imply. As I was mistaken for a long time, confused about the definitions of left hand, right hand, middle path, white, black, all of that, like light and dark. It's not. It's all intended for the dissolution of ego and the reclamation of self and the integration of self. And actually, the left-hand path has to do with being the lightning path, in that you're diving into that shadow, and that's what makes it quick. It's intense. I don't know. I guess I'm middle path because I use both sides, right? I like a little bit of everything. That's just always been me. Give me one of everything. Let me taste it all. Anyways, very powerful, transformative, very helpful, empowering. That's all I have to say. Try it out. Have a beautiful evening. Always and always, through every vector of time and space. I fucking love you. All of you. All the stuff. Take it easy.